Hello there, it's me, Bill, and I'm here with Heather, and we have a really unique situation that we're going to talk about today. And it's that Heather's team has exceeded expectations and now wants to go to an even higher level. And that could be really tricky territory because, when you've already sort of achieved your major goal of the season, which is to, win a playoff game, and then you did that, and then you won another one, and you're starting to think, well, how far could we go? Then there are certain issues that come into play. So here's what I want to do, Heather. I want to kind of do an assessment of your team. So if anybody's watching this and you're kind of in a similar situation, you're heading into postseason, and you're wondering how to succeed in the postseason, it's different. It's a different vibe. There are different demands and all that. So how would you describe your team now as compared to how they were in midseason?
So our team is a lot more fired up right now. I'd say the energy is, they're ready. They want this. They're getting a taste of what it feels like. They're watching, in the postseason, when you lose, you're done. Season's over. I think our match a couple nights ago was really interesting for them to see because they haven't had this experience where they're not the ones losing and their season comes to an end. And so we saw the team we beat. Most of them were seniors on that team. And it was hard. It was a bittersweet moment just for me as a coach. And just, I care for all the players across both teams. And I see that, and I know that's a big deal. That's it for them. And it's just like it comes to that sudden halt. So I think there's a mixture of, well, we want to keep this going. We don't want this to be, all right, we're done now. And they're bringing that energy, they're bringing that to the matches, which is great.
I want to jump in on that for a moment because part of it, especially more so for girls tennis than boys tennis, there's an emotional component to it. That sometimes girls will lose because they don't want to hurt the other girl's feelings. Which, as a guy, I mean, it takes a while to kind of get over the fact that no, that's not ridiculous, right? I mean, it's real and it happens. And so you have to learn to sort of compartmentalize a little bit. On the other hand, you don't want to try to compartmentalize too much. So what I like to do with all of my players is to just stop and appreciate the other team for a moment and say, okay, you guys played great. You beat them. They played a good match. But then you see this. I mean, you see how much they cared about the outcome and they were going to be excited about the next one. So in order to honor them, then go on and play well in the next round, right? Because they're going to feel bad if you go and play and stink next round, right? So in some way they're going to be rooting for you because if you win it all, then they're going to be like, well, at least we lost to the champion team. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get them to appreciate that other team and learn from their experience. I had a weird one. This is so sad. We had a kid on sectional championship point double faulted the sectional championship to us, which meant we can't dogpile now, right? And I was very proud of my team that they took that moment and they waited a full couple of minutes before they really started to celebrate because they didn't want to dance around in his face.
Yeah, that's such a
okay. So that's a really important thing too. Yes, paying attention, having some empathy. All right, now, when you said they're excited, do you think that there's a chance that they might be a little too amped up?
We're in a unique situation going into this particular match that we're heading into because we've been in this scenario a week ago. It was 2 weeks ago. We had this weird scenario where rainouts caused us to have to play this team back to back, and the region title was on the line. And so we won the first day against them. They were way too amped up for the next day, and it cost us. Multiple reasons, lots going on there, lots of emotions, but the emotions were too much. And so we've lived it. We've been in that experience. It was almost by design that we had that opportunity to be in that scenario, because now we know we need to channel it in. So I think that the match is ours if we can keep our emotions in check, and that's a big task.
Yes. And for that reason, this is why I have sort of the same pre-match routine for every single match that I present exactly the same way. So we could be playing the last place team in league, and we'll say this. We all say this together. Today, confidence is my biggest weapon. I will give 100% effort, enjoy the competition, and show myself strong and wise. I learn from every match. I will get 65% of my first serves in play, my feet in position for every shot, and continually pressure my opponent. I love a tough match. And then I will tell them the same things over and over again. Build your point with cross-court play, blah, blah. I mean, it's never different. And the only thing that might be a little bit different is if we know the opponent and there's some game planning things that we've talked about. Remember against Brian, hit it low to his backhand or whatever, or, so just just small things. But that sameness in the preparation, because I don't believe in pep talks. But here's one thing that's part of my secret sauce. I don't tell too many people this, but before a so-called big match like this, here's what I usually say. I'm like, okay, look, you're going to feel like you have to play like Serena Williams today. You feel like you're going to have to play better than what you really are to win. But that you don't need to do that. Now, there's a chance somebody on this team might play the best match of their lives. That could happen because you're young and you have even better tennis ahead of you in the future. So it could happen today. If it's happening, keep going, right? If it's not happening, then do those 4 things that we talked about. Give 100% effort, enjoy the competition, show yourself strong and wise, and learn from every match. So compete, right? Because ultimately, whether you're playing your best or not, it's how you compete that's going to determine the outcome more than anything else. And it's interesting, because I mentioned that somebody could play the best tennis of their lives. Generally, 1 or maybe 2 players just play really, really good.
Interesting.
But I'm not putting pressure on them. I'm just opening their minds up to the possibility. All right. So now, what are some of the things about this team that you're playing that you know about that you can take advantage of?
I know that they are very emotional, and that's what kind of brought it's like a fun energy but a scary energy at the same time, right? When you got 2 teams that are really going in fueled. So I think that works in our favor. I think that if we can come out, I told one of our girls is she's going to play a 4-hour match. I'm like, every single time she's on the court, and I told her she's got to play the longest first set of her life. That's her plan. So if she can get out there and send that message right off the bat that she's yet again going to be that person that's going to be out there all day, she's going to set the tone for our entire line. I'm really big. The big thing I push to my girls is how much momentum carries from one court to the next. And so if they all come out, play their game from the very beginning, we've beat them before, we can do this. And like you said, they don't need to play the best tennis of their lives. They don't need to. They just have to play their game. And if we go out there and play their game from the start, we just can't afford slow starts.
Yeah.
We want to give them the momentum. But if we can get them spiraling in their own heads, I think we're going to be a lot.
So let's dig into that a little bit. So this other team, how does their emotionalism present? What are the kinds of behaviors that you see from the other team?
there's a lot of like the high energy fist pumps, like come on, which personally I love. I think it's fun. I think the energy is good, but knowing that anybody that can get real high can equally get real low. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a lot of that on the team. There does tend to be some line discrepancies and things like that. And I think that, it's competitive players are always going to be wondering, was my shot in, was my shot out? And if that's what their heads worried about, that might be something that can pull them down.
Interesting. So this is something I definitely see you could have an opening there. And there are a couple of different ways I approach that when somebody's like maybe excessively emotional. So what I like to do is either as an act be more emotional than them. And I'll go, yeah. And then let's see what they're gonna do. Are they gonna Can I take them out of their comfort zone by pretending to be more fired up than them? And I don't
That
even
is
have to
not
really
going to happen with this team.
okay. So then where are they gonna go? They're gonna look over and they're gonna go, wait a minute, that guy is more fired up than me. Well, I have to go higher. The other one thing that's also interesting, I've played people where if I'm showing any emotion at all, they're feeding on my emotion and they're getting more pumped up. So I've actually gone the other way because I can be an emotional player myself, but then I'm like, okay, wait a minute, this guy's feeding on my energy. So then all of a sudden, then I go into Pete Sampras mode. I just kind of slump my shoulders a little bit. And I kind of just, I'll turn into Guga, Gustavo Kuerten, in case anybody's ever seen him. Mellowest guy in between points you ever did see. Right. So, I don't give him my eyes. I turn away. If he hits a good shot, I'll say, nice shot. Give him a kind of a really, it's like a non-emotional compliment on his shot, which sort of takes away their energy too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I try to figure out which of my players can be this sort of confrontational one without losing themselves. Which ones are can pretend to be not so intense, but still remain intense. It's so there's a little bit of acting involved. One time we had a girl who played my team, and we were in this tournament where multiple singles players played the other singles players. It was like a Southern California style tournament. And this girl, while my girls were picking up balls, would hit balls at their head, presumably to be just returning the ball to them. So I called BS on that. But anyway, what that became the fuel that made my number one player just annihilate that girl in a playoff match. So the interplay of emotion between teams is something to be mindful of. And I would give you the advice as the coach to be watchful of your players to see on the day what's helping, what's not helping, and help them shift their energy to where it needs to be for them first, but then secondly, to take advantage of their opponents.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big deal. And, if nothing else, if your team just 100% maintains their composure, then the lack of composure on the other team will show up more readily.
That's my approach right there.
So, do you have any concerns about your team at all? I mean, we're not going to make this video public for their consumption, but is there something that you want to make sure, an error that they don't make?
I want them to keep their composure. I think that this team got in their heads. A couple of my players have still kind of rattled from it and have been struggling for a couple rounds, So I want this match to be an opportunity for them to put some closure to that and be able to move forward and grow as players and individuals. And so my biggest concern is that it's really just, can they maintain their level of energy and effort on the court and while keeping their emotions in check and keeping their composure and not playing to that level of frustration that can arise, right? I mean, somebody that's fired up across the net can really mess with your head a little bit, right? And
Yes.
but
So,
you can't just be
okay,
stoic either if that's
I
not your
have an
first
idea
job.
for you. I have
All
an
right.
idea for you. Show them the end of the movie Mean Girls, or
Okay.
or uh what Disney has a lot of these movies that are set like in a private school where the girls are really mean, and then the nerdy girl goes, it's kind of like the you know goes from being kind of nerdy and awkward to incredibly beautiful and triumphant at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know where I'm getting at here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend pick a movie and just like show the final scenes where the girl emerges as the victor, the good girl wins.
All right. I like that. I'm
You
gonna
know, and
plan out.
yeah, and because this is a problem, is that unfortunately the girls who are bullies win. Um, Another one is, how girls also tend to kind of use their eyes to shoot daggers,
Yes.
right, across the court. So I'm shooting, daggers are coming out of my eyes right now, Heather. Can you see them stabbing you in your eyes? Right. So, but here's the interesting thing. You can choose to let them in or not. Right. So I always tell my girls, especially if the other girl is giving you stink eye, don't look at her. Just, your eyes don't have to look in her eyes, and then her daggers have nowhere to go. And when she uses a tone with you that you don't like, you can return with a good tone. You can be pleasant in return, and you're communicating, look, you're not getting to me. Oh, okay, Susie, I understand. You think it's 30 all. Well, I think it's 40-15 because remember, I won this point and I won this point. You won the third point, and then I just won that one. See how that's 40-15? You get it, right? I mean, and then when you're that pleasant with them, it makes it hard for them to come back with that bitchiness, and bossiness. So, just being, pleasant as punch, nice as pie. Or you could even throw in a little bless your heart, Susie. So no, don't do that. Especially
We
not
are
in
in
the
the South.
South. That's them's fighting words. So anyway, but you see, so yeah, give them the strategy that allows them to be inoculated, to have a shield against the stuff. That's going to be important. All right. What is it about your team that's going to help them get to their top level?
Yeah, I think it's we've got a large roster, so I have a lot of girls that are vested and that aren't in the lineup. And they've slowly learning how to be part of the match from the sidelines and just understanding how to support their players, understanding how to keep me in the loop on scores and things like that if I'm down on another court, just being that main contributor. That I think was a big factor in our last win. We were away, we were at their home courts, and we had way more support. So that's huge in my opinion.
That's awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's an annual struggle.
Yes.
Because you get new kids on the team, and then they don't know how it goes, and then you have to show them how it goes, and then towards the end of the season they get it, and then that's awesome. No, that's great. That's a huge thing, and I would make a big deal out of that. Hey, you supporting your teammates really made a big difference. Do you see that? Right. So, yeah, I think, it can go, sometimes it can go a little too far. So,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to go, okay, back off a little bit. No,
Yeah.
no fingers in the cyclone fence. That is not a good thing.
They
I
know
like to have
my
one thing. This is probably not a problem with your team, but one thing that I have to teach my players is don't lean against the fence, because it makes the other players feel like you're riding on their back. So stand a good 6 feet from the fence, and don't get eye contact with the player, because you might distract them. But cheer for them. I mean, you can look at them for a second, but then, yeah, don't try to get attention from them. Anyway, so
Yeah.
now, in terms of one thing I also like to tell people is when it's this time of season, even though mentally and emotionally they might be up, physically they might be starting to feel a little bit of fatigue. So I generally would recommend, now you play what, a playoff game match every once a week?
Well, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays is basically the schedule, but now we've got rain delay, so we're not going to play today.
Okay.
Tomorrow, hopefully, and then our next round, if we get past this one, will be on Tuesday. So we've got some breaks between.
Okay. All right. And one thing that I do in the postseason it took me a while to learn this is I don't work on their strokes anymore. Their game's their game.
Yeah.
This is how you play. So we're not changing anything right now. And then I want them to rest. So we might do a little light conditioning just so they don't get tight, but we're not going to do any heavy conditioning at all. I want them actually to be as fresh as possible for that match. So they're just flying around on the court. But with a possible 5-day break, so you might from Friday to possibly Tuesday the next week.
Right.
Yeah. I would recommend on Monday to make sure to get like plenty of serve and return practice, play some practice sets, and then some goofy games that everybody loves, and call it a day.
That's exactly what we did yesterday's practice.
Awesome.
That's exactly
awesome.
it. Like we never play games. And we did at the end. I was like, we got to do a fun game here and just lighten the mood. Like you said, there's no actual technical coaching right now. It's just, I don't want to get in your heads. You guys just play, feel fresh, hit the ball clean.
You never play games?
I rarely. We do sometimes, but I don't know. I'm so strapped for time in our practices, and we have so few practices.
Oh, Heather doesn't have time for fun.
We have fun, but half of our practices are in the wrestling room playing dodgeball. They get plenty of fun. We have so much rain in this season. It's terrible.
How come? Oh, is it because of rain that you're in the wrestling room?
Yeah. So I am the mean coach that makes them show up rain or shine regardless. Like there should be never a question, are we having practice today, coach? If it's cloudy out, we will always meet. Sometimes we're going to meet and hit against a wall inside, and sometimes we're going to play dodgeball or something random.
Right.
Or do a lot of conditioning.
That's when I like to play tennis volleyball indoors.
Yeah.
You can play with like little foam balls and stuff, or the orange dot balls indoors, and make up crazy games. Actually assign captains to make up a new game to play inside that room. So we've got some insane games. In fact, at certain times we've played games that weren't particularly safe. And so, so then if somebody got hurt, then being a responsible coach, then I would say, all right, well, we're never going to play that game again. So
I like that idea though. I'm going to incorporate that.
But the dangerous games were also the most popular games with the boys. They loved the danger games because there was this fear you could be killed. So, all right. Is there anything else any other things that you would like to talk about before we wrap it up here?
All right. What's your take on controlling or not controlling the fans and the things we don't have control over?
Well, okay. I've recently had an epiphany that control is an illusion. Okay. But so I would say managing. And so I think the first thing is, lay out some expectations. We're going to be polite, right? We're going to be polite. We're going to be enthusiastic. So we want to support our team as positively as possible. And we don't want to be a negative in any way. We don't want to be anybody to point to us and say they behaved poorly. And, anybody who's out of line, I would just gently pull them aside and have a quiet talk with them. Because the last thing that you want to do is sort of publicly chastise anyone. And then that could be a real downer. That could have a chilling effect on everybody. So I've had times where all of a sudden the student body gets interested in my team, and now all these football and basketball players are there and they don't know how to act. So I was at this one school, and there was this coach. I love this guy. He and I were like brothers, and we just became brothers like that, right? And his team would come support my team. I just thought that was awesome. I'm like, dude, I love you and your guys, right? Hey, but can you get them to tone it down a little bit, So can I explain to them when's okay to cheer and when's not okay to cheer? Because it's like in football and basketball and baseball, you strike somebody out, or somebody misses a free throw, or they miss the field goal, and you go, yeah. We don't do that here, So there's that. And I've been involved in matches where the other team's fans were horrific, and that became a major battle of, can you please tell your guys not to yell the F word at my guys as they're tossing?
Wow.
Yeah, that bad, right? Wow. Yeah, so their fans were being horrifically bad. And I don't like it when people cheer for unforced errors. That's just me, Let's just cheer for the good stuff. And also let's appreciate the other team's good shots. So 15 to 20 times in a match, you're going to hear me saying, like, let's say I was playing your team, right? And your player hit a good shot. I would say, nice shot, Warriors, right? Because I don't know the girl. I'm not going to call her by name, but I'm going to appreciate that shot. And then that sets a really good tone for the sportsmanship. So we want that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I like throwing in that team's mascot. I'm like you. I'm cheering for good points.
Yeah.
Sometimes
we want to see good tennis out there. So if you want to see good tennis, cheer for good tennis. But if you want to drag it down and make it ugly, then be a jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would have clear guidelines, and especially think on the things, the mistakes that you've seen already this year from people, and just give gentle reminders. One of the complaints kids give me is that they're like, well, I'm afraid to cheer because every time I do it, you criticize me, right? I'm like, well, learn to do it right then. So, yeah, don't be such a crybaby. Let's do this right.
Yeah.
So I can't help it if you don't understand. So yeah, just keep it positive and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
All right. So awesome. I can't wait for the result, win or lose. I just hope to hear that the Lady Warriors played their guts out and left it all out there.
Yes, definitely. I appreciate you being such a supporter and such a fan. It's
No, I
been
love it.
so cool.
Part of it is I'm living vicariously because I'm not currently coaching a team.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
So,
It keeps you wanting to coach when you got seasons and players like these, and yeah, it's good stuff.
well, and I also appreciate you promoting me via that organization that you work for. Do you want do you want to promote that now?
Sure. I don't know who our audience is tonight, or today. But yeah, I work for a company that helps athletes that want to play college sports. And Bill has been fantastic at coming in and presenting some great material to them all, and just being an awesome resource for them as they develop as athletes. But yeah, it's NCSA, and I am happy to connect with anybody across all sports and share more details.
Is it ncsa.org?
NCSAsports.org. You reach out to me directly.
ncsasports.org. And so I'll put that in the show notes down below so that you can click right on it. But anyway, thanks, Heather. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you going through this process, even though you're freshly from working out, although nobody can tell because you have the most glamorous workout clothing that's ever been seen.
Yes, this is what sits next to my desk. My company, where am I at here? There we go.
All
Cover
right,
up my
very
workout
good.
clothes. It's a good trick.
All right, awesome sauce. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
We'll
Phil. I
talk again
appreciate it.
soon.
Sounds good.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.